So my wife bought me a turntable. Let's talk about that.
Man Up with Mark. Mark talks about everything under the sun. You may agree with him, and again, you may not.
Yeah, so my wife decided to buy me a turntable for Christmas. It was last Christmas. I know we're damn near this coming Christmas. By the time this episode airs, we're going to be well into October, on our way to the holiday season. But I just thought I would talk about this because I thought it was kind of interesting. It was kind of, touching to me. I used to have a turntable for my stereo system many years ago. This was before my present wife and I started dating and got married and raised a family and did all that stuff. Her three and my three, all those kids I've talked about in the past. But before that, I had a stereo, and I had a cassette player with the amplifier, and then I also had a turntable, and I also had some big JBL two-way speakers, and that was my stereo back many years ago. Well, over the years, I decided, I'm going to get rid of the turntable. Albums, records, vinyl is going out, and the new shit's coming in. CDs, yeah, that's going to be the new thing. And I did. Got rid of my turntable, sold all of my albums, gave away a lot of my albums. Mostly gave away a lot of my albums. I had hundreds of albums at one time. Hundreds. I think my nephew Bob, he took a lot of my albums. I just wanted to get rid of them, and he said he'd take them. I don't know if he still has them or not. Hey Bob, if you're watching this episode, let me know. Do you still have all those albums you got from me years ago? Boy, I'm talking 30 years ago, maybe 35 years ago. That was a long time ago. Yeah. So you're old, Bob. Got rid of the turntable. Ended up getting a different stereo system. Got a Yamaha amplifier receiver combination. Got a Blu-ray player with the capability of playing CDs. And a couple of smaller two-way speakers. Not the big giant speakers that would sit on the floor and, rumble the world away when you had them going. These are smaller, I guess you would call them bookshelf type speakers. But that's my stereo now. It's sufficient. And I've got hundreds of CDs that I've collected over the years. But I told my wife on different occasions, yeah, boy, I should go back to albums. It'd really be nice to go back to albums. I miss that sound. Albums are starting to make a comeback again. The vinyl is coming back into the world. It's the new old fad, or is it the old new fad? Whatever. It's happening. And lo and behold, for Christmas, last Christmas, she bought me a turntable. Here it is. Yeah, it's an Audio-Technica turntable. Nothing super fancy, but very nice. It's belt-driven. It's your standard belt-driven turntable, and it's got a nice sound. So now I have to start collecting albums again. I have to start buying albums again. And I have discovered albums are really expensive now. They used to be $6, $7 back when I was younger. You know, you'd buy a double album maybe for $14. But now they're $25, $35 for a piece of vinyl. So I have to be particular on the albums that I choose to listen to on my new turntable. The ones I have recently purchased, they really sound good. The turntable, of course, you know, the amplifier and the speakers help. That, you know, it's a good Yamaha amplifier, and the speakers are nice, so they give it a nice sound. And so I started collecting albums again. And let me show you the first batch of albums that I've purchased that I felt necessary to have in my collection to start up again. Again, these aren't my favorite albums, because remember, I don't have a favorite anything. But these are albums that I liked a lot in my album collection, that I listened to a lot. A couple of these, I damn near wore out the vinyl. So, without further ado, oh yeah, Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Come on, you gotta have the Beatles. It's important. It's a great album cover. It's got lots of neat stuff on there. Lots of good stories came out of this album. But it's a great sounding album. So that's one of the first ones I bought. Next one, I had to get this one just because it reminded me of going to the YMCA dances when I was back in junior high and in early high school. Do any of you guys and gals remember YMCA dances? Come on, throw me a comment. Let me know that some of you out there, oh yeah, I remember the YMCA dances. That's where you probably got your first kiss, your first feel. Did I say that? Any rate, a lot of firsts happened at a YMCA dance. But there were a couple of groups that would play at the YMCA dances where I came from. I can't remember the names of the bands, but, you know, the typical rock and roll band had the colored water and the food coloring in the pie pan over the overhead projector that they would put on the screen in back of them. Oh, that was great stuff back then, wasn't it? But they would always play some Cream songs. So I had to get Goodbye Cream. Come on. I mean, I'm So Glad, Sitting on Top of the World, Badge, boom, 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 boom. Talking about the time.
Stop singing.
Okay, I'll stop right there. Cream. Yeah, that was the next. As you can tell, this one's a worn out. I bought this at a used record store. Some of these I bought at regular retailer, and some of them I bought at a used record dealer. So some look like they've been beat up and worn out, but the vinyl is still good, so they sound great. This next album, I probably got it mainly because my older brother, John, bought this album when I was younger. I think this album is like, I don't know, 1968, maybe 67. 1967. So I was pretty young. But my brother, John, bought this, and I listened to it quite often. It was a groundbreaker. It was awesome. Moody Blues, Days, Future, Past. Yeah, it was good. It had such good music to it. It was, nothing that was on the top 40, but, it was symphonic. It was great. In fact, it was the London festival orchestra that played with them on this album. So that's why it, sounded very orchestral, very symphonic. Really like this album. This album is one that I probably wore out because my brother John bought it, and over the years he gave it to me. So I just played it until the sucker ran out of grooves. Next one is this album I bought at a retailer. I think it was at Target or at Walmart or, one of those evil retail chains. But I liked the guy so much, and I was having a hard time trying to pick one of his albums that I wanted. So I just decided to get kind of a greatest hits album, Eric Clapton, Icon. Let's see if I can get that reflection off of there. Whatever. Good album. Has a lot of his hits. I Shot the Sheriff, Knocking on Heaven's Door, Cocaine, Wonderful Tonight, Layla. So many hits. And you got to have Eric Clapton in your collection. I think it's mandatory. If you have vinyl, you have to have at least one Eric Clapton album. Yeah, I think it's law. Next one. This album I bought. I was in junior high, and I would sit in my next door neighbor's bedroom for hours, smoke cigarettes, and listen to this album. Chicago. Yeah, huh? Originally called Chicago Transit Authority, but this album was a double album. And I think, again, when I bought this double album back in 1970, I think it cost me all of $12 or something, which was quite a bit for a young kid back in 1970. But this is just so many hits in this album. It's just remarkable. It's got 25 or 624. It's got Color My World. Wake Up Sunshine. Oh, wake up sunshine. Oh, it's great.
Stop singing that song.
Yeah. I never was a great singer. I just knew how to stand in the choir line and look pretty. Yeah, Color My World was probably one of my favorite Chicago songs. I don't have a favorite. But notice I said one of my favorites. Maybe it's one of the songs that they did that I like a lot. Maybe I should put it that way. Any rate, Chicago. Lots of horns. Good rock and roll album. It was super, super, super popular at the time in the 70s. Again, this next album was one that I wore out. Again, this was one of my brother John's albums that he bought. It's funny, I had three brothers altogether. I had Dan, John, Bill. Out of all three of the brothers, John was the one that bought albums. My brother Dan had already moved out of the house, so I never saw him that much. My brother Bill was kind of like me. He mooched off of John, whatever he bought. So it worked out great for me and Bill. Or is it for Bill and I? This album is 1969. It's Buffalo Springfield, retrospective. Yeah, I know. A lot of you out there are probably saying, what the hell is that? Never seen it before. If you haven't seen this album before, you must be living under a rock. This is classic. This is what Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young came from. Well, two of the members, Stephen Stills and David Crosby, were in this band. And it was just phenomenal. A lot of hits on it, too. For What It's Worth, Mr. Soul. For What It's Worth, A lot of you may not know. Well, I never heard of that before, but I know you heard the song. There's something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there.
Stop singing!
Yeah, okay, I'll stop. I can't help it. I like music. And I like albums. So at any rate, good old album. One that I wore out because, again, Brother John gave it to Bill and I when he grew up and moved out and didn't take all of his stuff, and we beat it up. We wore it to the end. And of course, your record collection, again, would not be complete. 1, you gotta have Eric Clapton. 2, you've gotta have Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. Oh yeah. Great Gig in the Sky? Ha! Money? Oh. Us and Them? Time? I mean, all of these songs on this album are dynamite. The whole album is unbelievable. Just unbelievable. Again, this album looks new because, again, I bought it from a retailer, and it was a anniversary edition or something like that. So it looks brand new, and it sounds brand new. And last but not least, at least for the first batch of albums that I've bought so far since my wife got me the turntable. And notice there, I don't have a lot of them. What do I got? With this one, I showed you now 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 8. I since my wife got me the turntable, I have purchased 8 albums. Again, because they're so damn expensive now. I'll get serious one of these days and go out on an album buying binge and head over to the used record store and get a whole bunch of them in one pop. That's if my lovely bride will give me several $100s so that I can just blow. But, last but not least, the Eagles, Hotel California. Oh yeah. Hotel California was, again, a breakout. I mean, it was, again, when the Eagles were hot, when they were, they were no longer up and coming, they were no longer an up and coming group. They were the shit. And when they made this album, it was just awesome. I think this was in 76. Yeah, this album was in 76. I had been out of high school now for a couple of years, and this album came out, and I can't count the number of doobies I smoked while I was listening to this. Not to mention Dark Side of the Moon. This album here. Yeah. These 2 albums, I smoked a lot of dope too. I think it was a good thing. Opened my mind. It was great. So at any rate, that's it. It's Friday. I thought, what the hell? Might as well talk about something light and stupid. So, we talked about new albums that I got. New old albums that I got. For my new turntable. Thanks, honey. If you would, send me a comment. Let me know what albums you like. Let me know what albums are in your collection that you think are standard, are important to have in a collection. I'd like to know that, because I would like to go out soon and buy some more. So I'd be interested in what you people out there think is a proper album to purchase. Let me know. Throw me a comment. Also, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell. That'd be neat. That way, when I put out another podcast, it'll notify you, and you won't miss it. And like always, please subscribe to my Patreon page. Patreon.com/manupwithmark. Okay, that's it for this Friday. Till next week. See ya.
If you have a question or comment, email Mark at manupwithmark.com.